And blessings. I hope you guys are doing well. All praises to the Most High. All praises to our Melech King, Yahushua Mashiach. For without him, where would we be? Okay, so this is something that I'm actually a little bit excited about. Not too much, but because I talked about this earlier on in, I think, a StreamYard. I talked a little bit about superpowers. So I just wanted to kind of go into detail about something and uh, worry not about the references that I'm using. I'm only using this to make a point, like I said, because I want everybody to understand that power is not something that we should be taking control over in the sense like as if it's ours to, abuse. Power is something that is bestowed upon individuals who obviously earned it and who obviously that the Most High can trust. And of course, we know that there are fallen spawns who have yielded their vessels over to the demonic realm, and obviously they are inhabited by devils, therefore they give them powers as well. Okay, so it's just, I just have to stress this, that, they think of us as people who actually do have these powers and houses this in our vessel by way of the Most High, the Ruach, right? They feel like we are freaks of nature. This is what I've heard. So I know if I've heard this stuff and they've told me this to my face, I know that they obviously see you as the same. And if they have not told you the same things, they have shown it by way of actions. Thus the reason why you're in the program. Okay, because we're all considered freaks of natures. Okay, we're misfits in society. They don't want us. All we're good for is a good old setup, sacrifice to be killed for their demonic powers. uh like I said, some of them want financial gain, some of them want artistic gain. You understand, they want to be able to create, because we are close to the Most High. You understand, we're his relatives, so he gave us these powers. And once again, I have to say, he said that I give you spiritual authority to trample over serpents and scorpions. Okay, so that right there alone should already tell you, and also, we've seen things play out in scripture with spiritual warfare. Like the book of Psalms is a big time, like David was engaging in spiritual warfare against, his enemies big time. You understand what I'm saying? Elijah, the Tishbite, him as well. You understand? So, and the list goes on. So I only wanted to reference them just to let you guys know that there's nothing wrong with you if you have these powers. You understand? It's about the intent behind it. You understand? Because if someone is attacking you, you don't understand what I'm saying, spiritually, then you have a reason right there that warrants your combat. Okay? It does. It warrants your combat. All right? The Most High's not going to be mad at you if you're praying for your enemies to cease from what they're doing to you. You understand? And he says, suffer not a witch to live. So y'all already know how I'm coming with. I do not pray for these witches and warlocks. I'm saying a real witch and warlock. I do not pray for them to live. I don't. And that's just a fact. Okay? But I'm only using this movie as a reference. And I also want to keep in mind that I've been trying to stress this with you guys, that my focus is demonic possession. I'm trying to get people free from demons. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not going to cast the demons out of you. You can do it yourself. Trust me. You can. You don't have to go to a priest. You don't have to go to a preacher to do it. You understand what I'm saying? All you have to do is want it. You have to be strong, set your intention, and you have to flee from evil. And you have to be willing to change. Because if you don't, like I said, once delivered, stay delivered. If you don't, more demons are going to come into you, right? Just like what the scriptures say. Okay, so the darkest minds, if you've seen this, you understand, this is just a reference on how the system of psychiatry, coupled with military, as well as governmental personnel. These people think of us as dangerous people, right? And that's what I mean. I'm going to only use this term. Of course, if you're dark, then you're dangerous. If they are labeling us as such, then we're considered dangerous against society. That's why we're black sheep. That's why we're misfits. You understand? Obviously, they need a dumpster. You understand? Which obviously we are empaths, and usually we are dumpsters because we're the only ones who sit up there and can deal with burdens. You understand? Narcissists cannot deal with burdens. That's the reason why they have to go to empaths, feed off of them, and dump all of their trauma on them. It's this trauma dump, right? And it's just what happens. You understand? With narcissists and empaths. Okay. I also told you guys that there is a dualistic nature when it comes to narcissists, because there is a line where if you are an empath who have gone through so much trauma, you can end up becoming just like your abusers. And those people are considered dark empaths who are now people who have taken on the mantle of a narcissist because they have allowed for their traumas to drown them. And I have to stress that as well. So they need people like us in society, because if we're not here in society, like I said, if we don't shine, these people do not. They don't live. They don't get to live. And yeah, they may be living, but they don't get to live in peace. Okay? Because the Most High does not want peace for them. He doesn't. So if you've seen this movie, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to highlight exactly what in the movie they claim that these children had, right? Of course, it's based on superpowers, you know, and of course, if anything is being created by Hollywood, you know, that it's scattered, right? So it's a lot of conjecture, it's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of distractions happening, and there's a lot of lore, log lines, and the backstories, and just the treatment is based off of lore, you know, and demonology and things like that. But I just want you guys to understand a little bit about what they consider us in society. Like, this is exactly how they consider us, okay? So in the movie, if you've seen it or if you would like to see it, I'm sure you can find it. They coined this genetic mutation in these kids as idiopathic adolescent acute neurodegeneration, okay? It says idiopathic adolescent acute neurodegeneration is a fictional disease featured in the young adult novel and film The Darkest Minds. This disease plays a central role in the story's dystopian setting. Key characteristics of idiopathic adolescent acute neurodegeneration is impact on children. Is responsible for the deaths of approximately 98% of children in the United States. Keep that in mind. Survivors' abilities. Now, these are the ones who obviously did not die from it, okay? So, and keep in mind also, you know, with chemical weapons, you understand what I'm saying? Bioweapons that they've created, all of that stuff. Keep in mind of all of that, right? Those who survive the disease develop superpowers, which are classified by color. Green, increased intelligence. Blue, telekinesis. Yellow, manipulation of electricity. Red, control of fire. And then orange, telepathy and mind control. Okay. And then it says government response, classification, and confinement. Survivors are classified based on their abilities and are often confined to government-run camps. Dangerous classification. Children classified as orange, like the protagonist Ruby Daly, are considered extremely dangerous and face severe consequences, including execution. Right? Psychological effects is characterized by sudden death and various psychological symptoms before the fatal outcome. Contributing to the fear and stigma surrounding the survivors in the story, this fictional disease serves as a backdrop for exploring themes of fear, power, and the treatment of those who are different in society. Okay, so we already know that this is like a genetic mutation. So that, at least from their knowledge. They're saying this is a genetic mutation. But of course, clearly there had to be some type of chemical or bio weapon that they released. And obviously, these kids had developed this genetic, quote unquote, disorder, right? So this is how they view us in society today. When they know that they have people who are connected to the Most High, when you are housing one of his spirits, you have to understand that there is power that comes along with that. And the Most High is just not going to give random power to anybody. I keep telling people this. He's not going to give random power to just any old person, okay? He is, going to give power to someone that he has always known, okay? Someone that he can trust, someone he already knows he's going to make due on, because they understand the promise. And there's a level of trust that has been built up over lifetimes. And I'm only saying that in reference to Jacob's ladder. If you don't know, now you know. It is true, and that's just the reality. The Most High is not giving out power, you understand what I'm saying, to random people. He just don't do that, okay? He's not dealing with new people. That's the best way to say this. He's not dealing with new people. He's not dealing with new people, because that's a promise that he cannot make good on. He can't trust that you're going to do exactly what he tells you to do, especially if you're somebody new coming into the fold. That's why all of this jargon about, oh, he did it for you, he'll do it for me. No, he's not. I mean, not like that. Not to say that you cannot reap the benefits of it, but he knows your intent before you show up. Okay? He knows your intent. So he's just not handing out power like free lunches. Okay? He's not doing that. It just does not work like that. Okay? So when you house one of these spirits, or specifically the Ruach HaKodesh, and I have to say, there's a dualistic nature to that, because there are many Holy Spirits, and you can go to the book of Hebrews for that. You understand, to get some more detailed, thorough insight on that, on the difference between the Ruach and also Holy Spirits, because there's many Holy Spirits. You understand what I'm saying? So I won't go into detail about that, because like I said, for the sake of time, I'm not trying to be on here for like an hour, because I've already talked a little bit about this stuff. So I just want to kind of round out what I've already said before, and also add some more insight on something that I may have not spoken about in the past. So when you house one of these, when you're housing, you understand, his spirit. Let me just say that. That's the easiest way to say it. When you're housing his spirit, you have to understand that there is a responsibility that comes with that, as well as a burden. You understand? And empaths, as we know, we are used to carrying burdens, especially for people around us who are not man or woman enough to carry their own burdens. And they feel like, oh, well, yeah, you can carry the burden. You've been carrying a burden, so we'll just go ahead and dump it on you, so that we don't have to carry it. You understand? Not dealing with their own trauma. You understand? Not facing it. We are actively facing it, even though we're being reintroduced, and our traumas are being reinforced upon us by being in this wicked persecution of a program, right? So the reality is that the outsiders looking upon us, they feel like, well, we deserve this because we won't submit to the machine. And we're basically down here because we want to destroy them. Like, that's exactly what they think. That's exactly what they think. They're like, if you're not going to join us, then you're against us. And if you're against us, then you're here to kill us. You understand? Because in reality, we already know that the Most High is not slack of his promise. So he's not going to allow for his people to just be done in over and over and over again, and then nothing not happen to them. That's why any of the things that these people do to me, you understand, and any of the things that they do to you, you should not worry, because the truth is that if they're not doing these things to you and they're bidding you a good farewell, and they're saying you're doing a good job, you should be questioning if you're on the right team. You understand? Because these people are not going to be sitting up here laughing and talking in your face. They will do that because they fake. They're fake. They'll do that all day long. They'll laugh in your face, talk with you. They'll break bread with you if you let them. And they'll drink with you. You understand? They'll give you some admonition, whatever that advisement entails. You understand? But know that it's BS. These people don't give a damn about you. They don't. All of that is only to get inside of your head because they want what is attached to you. And like I said, once again, the only way that these people can actively make money, they can actively gain spiritual wealth, is unless they are terrorizing you. Do you understand? And unless they get access to you. You understand? This is just what this always has been about. This is spiritual warfare 101, or psychological warfare 101, should I say. You understand? Because it's one and the same to me. If you're coming with psychological warfare, I know that it's spiritual based because that's where everything takes place first before it materializes here. So I know what it is. You understand? You don't have to admit it out of your lips. You understand? It does not have to come out of your mouth. But I know. And I know that you guys know as well. Okay? So these are the same things that these people have done to us. They have scrutinized us. They have ostracized us. They've alienated us from the general population because they feel like we don't belong here. You understand? And they feel like we should be exterminated because we're basically here to turn their little paradise into hell when it's hell to begin with. You understand? So I only wanted to make that connection with that because they see us as a genetic mutation. But in fact, they're really the genetic mutation. If you really wanted to get technical, if you really wanted to get scientific, they're really the genetic mutation. These people are the ones who have these degenerative sort of what I like to call psychological cripplings. You understand? They're sick in the head because anyone who is okay with raping kids, sacrificing them to demon gods, making them pass through the fire, anyone who is okay with raping animals, you understand what I'm saying? Anytime you think that an animal life is more important than a human life, you understand what I'm saying? You're demonic to me. You're demonic. Demonic. Straight up. And there's no hope for you, especially if you're doing it. And you got a smile on your face. I know that there's no hope for you. None whatsoever. There could not be. So let me continue. I want to also go to some synonyms and also break this whole so-called degenerative genetic mutation down. Just to prove my point, okay? Because I told you guys it's always been about the blood. So it says idiopathic, right? This is related, okay? T lymphocyte, targeted therapy, okay? White blood cell count, circulatory system, complete blood count. And I'm not going to read everything. I just want you guys to see it. I'm just going to only read certain things that sort of stand out to me. Platelet count, plasma cell, pulmonary embolism. Look, sickle cell anemia. Remember, there's a show also called Supercell, which is based in London, I believe, or somewhere in the UK. And those people have superpowers in that show. I did see the first season. They have superpowers in that show, and then it's based off of, I guess, kids who had sickle cell. I don't know if they had the trait or if they had the actual disease, and somehow they, manifested powers. And I say spiritual powers because, in truth, these people are not crystallining any of these powers. You understand? In order to do that, like, you would have to be doing some real dark stuff. You understand? And even then, it takes too much brain power. It takes too much energy. It takes a lot, really. You have to watch celestial events. They would have to get relics. You understand? They would have to sacrifice, blood sacrifice, as well as any other sacrifices that they can make to gain these powers, to even be able to crystallize a little bit. And they're not even doing it on the scale like Carrie. Like, it's just, honestly, it's minute. All they're doing is, it's nothing slight of you blowing your breath or the wind out of your lungs towards an empty water bottle. Like, it's nothing. Hematology, oncology, bleeding disorder, blood banking. Told you it's been about the blood cancer, blood smear, blood film, blood transfusion, bone marrow transplantation, transplantation. And then I want to go to some sentences. Idiopathic nail dystrophy that appears in early childhood. Idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis has a poor outlook. The most common type is idiopathic or nonspecific pericarditis. Urolithiasis, recurrence in idiopathic cystitis. Okay, so this is another thing I want you guys to understand. Like, a lot of this stuff is all blood disorders, right? These are blood defects, okay? These are all blood defects. So, once again, these people are saying that we're basically the genetic mutations because we're not supposed to be here on their heaven, which is Earth, their paradise. So we're basically the blood defects or the genetic mutations within their bloodlines, because I have to say, the bloodlines that we were born into, that of our family, are not, as we know now, obviously our family members. You understand? They're not. And the Most High has shown that there is a great divide. Okay? And blood is not thicker than water. It is not. When it comes to him, it's not. To them, it is. This is the reason why they're calling us this, right? So they're saying that we have some type of blood defect because we shouldn't have even been born into their bloodlines. And they feel like it's some type of incarnate treason. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they feel. They feel like we have, like, stolen, bodies of people that should have been born in their bloodline who were supposed to be just like them, right? This is just exactly what it is. Like, and y'all know I'm telling the truth. Come on now. Like, it's obvious. Okay. Idiopathic epilepsy, apparatus to treat scoliosis, particularly idiopathic scoliosis. I talked about pericarditis again. Male 20 suffering from idiopathic scoliosis. I guess that's what that is. Okay. And it's all about pathology, right? It's all about that. Let me go to the next word. I think it was, yeah. Okay, so neurodegeneration, the degeneration and death of neurons. Okay. Nerve cell support, neurogenesis. Neurofibrillary tangle, neuropathology, dementing, like demented, right? Cognitive decline, right? There we go. Cognitive impairment, once again, like I said, these mental cripplings, like this is exactly what they are classifying us as, people who see the truth, people who are and have been awakened, who have been made white by way of the Most High. This is what they're calling us. We're crazy because we don't conform. We're unconventional. We cannot be hacked. You understand? We cannot be bought. So these are the terms. Like I said, the system of psychiatry are the main ones who are supporting this garbage. You understand? And they were very smart to create a system of psychiatry like this, centered around the psychological trauma that we have been induced with, because that is something that the Most High has actually allowed, specifically for our people, but not just our people, but for many other nations. And as it pertains to our ancestors, like I said, trauma is passed on from one cell to the next, right? It's always been about the blood, so trauma can get passed on. You understand? So this is just something that the Most High has allowed to happen, like a carousel cycle of misery on repeat, because of what we've done. You understand? So as a result, we're going to be subjected to the trauma because we are basically for it. You understand? We're for it. You understand? He said sin is the wages of death. So it is what it is. So if you like trauma, then that's what you're going to get. And you know what happens when you are traumatized. You understand? And you would have these people on patrol, these devils on patrol, sit up here and debunk all of this and debase your stance on, you letting them know that they're the ones who are actually demented. Because anyone who's sitting up here thinking that this is okay, you have to be demented and something is wrong with you. You understand? So they don't want us exclaiming all of these things, because the truth is that it only spotlights them, exposes them. You understand? And then they love to still do their shit in the dark. They love to do it in secret, and they think that no one's watching, because that's just how they operate. They have to operate in code. They have to operate in covert movement. And that's where they win at, or so they think. Okay. Gray a trophy, right? Right. And I want you also to keep in mind of the grays, right? Like, these are all terms that the Fallen came up with. All this stuff, like gray matter, deficits, neurodegenerative, neuromelanin. There we go with the melanin, right? Neurine, cerebral softening, central chromatolysis, progressive mental deterioration, I already said that. Okay. Hold on. I'm just going through this stuff, and I want you guys to see this. You guys could pause and see that neural damage. I think I already did that one. And then, hold on. I had these in order, and then it seemed like they got out of order once I, okay. Well, I guess that's basically it. Yeah, those are the main focus that I wanted you guys to see: idiopathic and neurodegeneration. Okay, right? It's like a blood defect or some type of psychological crippling. It has something to do with the blood, period. You understand? It affects your mental and your neurological system, because that's what it's linked to. I also want to bring up, in reference to what I'm talking about in terms of, superpowers, the Wheel of Time. Okay, so I've seen the show. They canceled it, but yeah, once again, you understand? Now, this story is a little bit different. Okay, it still is hinging off of, the practice of the dark arts, that type of thing, as well as trauma, but it's a little bit focused on, it's more cultic base, I would say, because they have this ideology that the women are the only one who can siphon, or I guess you can say, who can house and manipulate the one power, which is the power from the creator, right? As they call it. And any man who is a channeler, because that's exactly what they're called, channelers, and they're called Aes Sedais or Sardines. The men are likely to be corrupted by the one power. So that's the reason why it's best for men to not house any type of power from the one power, because they're considered a flagrant nuance to society, because they can't control it. The power basically corrupts them. So the women are the only ones who can manipulate and wield the power. This goes back once again to what I was saying about how, Satan, I don't want to just, I'm not going to say, I have to get out of that mode of saying Satan. The fallen, they love using women. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot of women, you understand, that I come in contact with on a day-to-day basis. You understand? Because it's more of them than there are men. And as we know, women do live longer than men. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, this is nothing sexist. This is nothing misogynistic. I don't care who feels such, but this has all been, like I said, talked about throughout scripture. Like we already know. So if you feel some type of way about it, then that's just you. Because the truth is that I already know what it is. I love women. You understand what I'm saying? I love being around them, you know, all of that. But I know if you are doing some witchcraft. You understand what I'm saying? And women are more prone to witchcraft, and men are only more susceptible, or should I say subjected to it, because of the women. You understand? But women are more prone to it because a lot of them, they want to emulate other women. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how that sort of camaraderie works in a female circle. You understand? Like they emulate each other. They want to look like each other. They want to, you understand, give tips and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You understand? That's girl stuff. But what I'm saying is that it becomes a problem when you guys are practicing cultic habits. You understand what I'm saying? Because it takes nothing for a group of women to get together and to become a covenant. You understand what I'm saying? It takes nothing. Nothing at all. And I'm not saying all women are cultic or all women are practicing witches. I'm able to tell if you are practicing witch, and I'm able to tell if you are attached to the spirit of witchcraft or if you're a person who is a witch in training. You understand? You're trying to gain power, or you're trying to gain status. You're trying to gain, you understand, some type of notoriety or a nod from a coven or from the demonic realm, should I say. You know, I can always tell. So this is no way, shape, or form me demonizing and dehumanizing women. And they'll tell you that, oh, I hate women because I'm saying this. This is a fact, okay? Y'all fell in the garden first. You were deceived first. Death came through Adam. But this is what I want you guys to understand. So you were cursed by the Most High. I'm not saying. This is what I'm saying. See, by me saying that, I already know they're going to run with that. You were cursed by the Most High. And like I said, Adam was cursed too. That's why death came through him. You understand what I'm saying? But the blessing for the woman came through the fallen because they used their gates. And that's just the truth. That's the reason why, like I said, they're going to always put a woman on a pedestal, okay? Specifically, they're going to always put the black woman on a pedestal against the black man because COINTELPRO, okay? This all goes back to the garden, okay? So anything that I'm saying, this shit is rudimentary, okay? It is rudimentary. So if you don't know that already, then that it is what it is. You don't want to accept it. And at this point, I feel like now people know, though. Y'all just don't want to accept it because you know I'm exposing it. You understand what I'm saying? But this does not make you a bad person. That's what I'm saying. If you're a bad person, that's your own views. That's your own perception about yourself. You understand? I can't make you feel any greater than what any greater than less than. You understand? I can't make you feel that. And the less than part is that if that's those views that you have for yourself, I can't make you feel great. You understand what I'm saying? If you already feel less than. You understand? So it's not an argument at all. This stuff is rudimentary, okay? So that's what you'll see happening, okay? So they'll use the women to gentle the men channelers, okay? Because the men, for whatever reason, they always get corrupted by the one power. So the women are the only ones who are skilled enough or basically more submissive to be able to control, manipulate the one power or channel it, right? So the ideology is that the men will always become corrupted by the power. And when they become corrupted by the power, they can't control them. You understand? So I only say that because it's a similar case with me that I have going on right now. You understand? Like they feel like I am beyond control, Like, there's no way that they can control me. And they know that. And I don't care, because you cannot control me. You can't. I don't care about you putting blood in my food. Y'all done put your essence in my food. Y'all done put drugs in my food. Y'all keep doing that. You won't stop doing that. You understand? You keep putting in my beverages. You understand what I'm saying? And it's still not enough to make me act erratic and rambunctious, to give you cause to put me down. Like, because the Most High, this is what I'm saying. I'm going to let you guys do all this crap to me, because in the end, it's going to give me cause to fire back, to shoot those fiery darts right back at you. So keep doing it. Keep doing it, because I'm going to still get cause to shoot them back at you. I just want you to understand that. You know that. So y'all trying to develop calls. You understand? You're trying to stage calls, right? To try to do me something bad. But just know I'm going to let you do it, so that when I come back swinging, you can't say nothing. So keep doing it. Keep doing it. I want you to. I told you it's fun to me. Just like y'all having fun. Oh, I'm not going to be going through this stuff and not having no fun my damn self. Are you kidding me? Okay, so I want to go to the one power. Okay, these are some synonyms, right? So that's what they call it, right? The one power, right? Which is the power from the so-called creator, right? According to their knowledge. Dominant, single force, sovereignty, command, control, authority, supremacy, one force, unique strength, force alone. Okay, cool. Absolute power means one power, dominating all and everyone. I've got one power he doesn't have. These are sentences. Larger by one power of 10. Okay, so, because remember, there's strength in numbers. That's why they said that. Okay, so does he have one power at all? That leaves only one power in the palace. There is one power for all. Ultimately, there is but one power in one substance. We're picking up one power source, right? Because they're all working in a hive mind when they're channeling, that demonic energy. And this is what it is. I mean, because anytime that Hollywood is displaying this stuff in their movies, it's all demonic. I just want you guys to understand that. But I also want you to understand that there is a dualistic nature to that, because they only hijack that from the Most High, right? So the fallen only possesses their people because the Most High was doing that from the beginning. You understand? Similar to in one's power, right? How people say, oh, manifest what you want. Use your power to attract what you want, right? They always say stuff like that. Own power. Okay, oh, hold on. Let me go to... Okay, look. So the one power is a magical force in the wheel of time that derives the turning of the wheel of time. And I also want you to keep in mind about the wheel, right? I did a video on that too on my earlier channel. I'm gonna see if I can pin it in the description box too, about that, those symbols, and just about the wheel. I'm gonna timestamp it so that you guys don't have to try to hunt for that. It says the wheel of time is drawn from the true source. This is what they say. It consists of two halves, Siding, the male half, and Sidar, the female half, which can, I said it interchangeably by accident, but which can be channeled by individuals known as channelers. Definition of the one power. The one power is a magical force in the Wheel of Time series that serves as the driving energy behind the turning of Wheel of Time. It is drawn from the true source, which is the essence of creation itself. Components of the one power is divided into two complementary halves, okay? Half is Siding, which is male. The male half, which is corrupted by the dark one, remember, making it dangerous to use. And I want you also to keep in mind too, like, if you read comic books, all of that stuff is just populated in it, okay? So it's all there too. Like, you don't have to, it's all over the scriptures. But I'm just saying though, like, it just kills me that it's written everywhere around us, right? So it does not take the most shrewd individual to have to understand these things and then be able to explain it. It does not take that. Like, a child can learn this. And they have. That's why they're teaching their children to be wicked. Sidar, female. The female half, which remains safe to use and is characterized by a sense of surrender. Remember, I told you it's about subservience. It's about obeisance to the fallen, right? Which is what has happened. Okay. Channeling the one power, individuals who can access the one power are known as channelers. They can manipulate the one power to perform various magical feats, such as healing injuries and illnesses, controlling the weather, creating fireballs or lightning, traveling instantaneously, influencing others' actions through compulsion, which is still, like I said, once again, telepathy, mind control. Remember, just like from The Darkest Minds, the orange are considered the most dangerous people, because if you are a telepath that they can't control, and if you're not on their side, then you're dangerous. You're absolutely dangerous. Channelers experience heightened awareness and a sense of vitality when using the one power, right? As we know, which is in warlocks, but they must learn to control it to avoid being overwhelmed. In summary, the one power is a fundamental aspect of the universe in the wheel of time, enabling channelers to perform extraordinary acts while being intricately linked to the balance of male and female energies, right? Because that's what it's always about, right? It's always about female and male energy, right? It always goes back to the Garden of Eden, the fallen garden, right? Is what I like to call it. The fallen garden, where man and woman fell, right? And that's exactly what it's always about. It's about them opening up that gate, right? The portal, right? Sex magic, as we know, is a whole big thing about it as well. Orgies and all of that. So yeah, that's just really what I wanted to talk about. You understand? And I only brought this up because I wanted you guys to understand, like, these people are basically saying that we are genetic mutations, and we are misfits in society, and we shouldn't be here on this earth. As a result, the system of psychiatry protects this ideology, and it has research, so-called research and so-called data to support it, only by way of trauma, though. See, this is what I'm saying, though. You guys wouldn't have had all this data had you not been enforcing trauma and then reinforcing trauma as well for so many damn centuries upon the Most High's people. And as a result, you've been using us as guinea pigs, as case studies. We've been the hares, right? We've been the rabbits, right? Which is still a lab rat, okay? It's a rodent. So anytime you see that, it's still lab rat, okay? I want you guys to understand that, right? And it's always about trauma, just like Alice in Wonderland. I keep telling you guys that. That is about a cycle of misery, trauma on repeat, okay? They'll do it so much to you because they want you to accept the trauma. Because in that way, if you can accept the trauma, then they can hack you. And then they can deploy demons to inhabit your vessel, and then you'll be possessed. And then they will have you in the palm of their hand to sift you like wheat, right? So that's what it's all about. Because if there's a demon in you, and I want you guys to understand this, and I'm going to be clear, okay? They have to corrupt you, because the only way to get you is if you're corrupted. You understand? So to my brothers and sisters in trauma, I have to say it like that. You understand? Who have been overridden, hacked, harebrained. You understand? Because at some point, they feel like you will give up. You will crack eventually, as they say. Right? That's what they think. For those who have, quote unquote, cracked in the past and who has lost their lives because they couldn't take it anymore, I want you to understand that those people, unfortunately, were overridden. They were. Because if they were not overridden, you understand what I'm saying? And I want you also to understand that there is a thin line between what I'm saying about being corrupted and then being provoked. There is a thin line between that. Okay. Corruption, if you're corrupted, it's obvious that if you're going to go and kill somebody and then it's premeditated and you had it planned out. And here's what I'm saying. The Most High is not going to tell you to go and kill somebody. He's not going to tell you to go and purchase a gun. He's not going to tell you to go and purchase all the necessary ammunition for the gun. He's not going to sit up there and okay a plan. You understand what I'm saying? That you will divulge to kill these people who have done these things to you. And it may not even be those people who have done them to you directly, but they're just obviously in company doing the stuff. So these are just, they're not random people, but, depending on where, these people have went outside of their jurisdiction to staying inside of their jurisdiction to then go and kill. You understand what I'm saying? These devils on patrol. Because I at the end of the day, here's the thing. Y'all are devils on patrol, okay? And when you sign up to do this, your life is not protected. Like, I cannot stress this so many times to y'all. And y'all still keep doing it. Because you ain't got no choice. And see, this is what I'm saying. I keep telling you that the elite don't give a damn about y'all. They're going to let you run out there and get killed. Because you just do not know what we are capable of. You understand what I'm saying? And I have to say even though, there have been people who have went on the far side of corruption. You understand what I'm saying? And this is why I brought up when you're possessed, they had to have been possessed to do that, because the Most High is not going to possess you to go and kill them. He's not going to. This is what I'm saying. He said that our weapons are not carnal. Okay. He said that, you see. So there is some limitations, obviously, there where it comes to their faith systems, that type of thing. And I'm not here to bash anybody who has, you understand, given up, in a sense. And I wouldn't even call that giving up. I just feel like they snapped. They had enough, and at some point you do. You do. I'm not going to go and do that. Like, that's what they want us to do. You understand? Because this is all about trying to develop a super soldier. They want people who are not going to fight. You understand? They don't want people who are strong-willed, strong-minded, because you're going to fight until the end. I'm talking about spiritually, mentally. You understand what I'm saying? Consciously, you already know. You already have your demands set. You already have your charges set in place as well. You understand? And you know that you're not going to go or move without the accordance of the Most High. So unfortunately, you've had these people who have been corrupted, and they are corrupted because they did corrupt you because you went and you killed them. You understand? You did exactly what they used you for as a psyop. You understand? This is not me. Like I said, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but I'm just saying anyone in the past who has succumbed to that, I feel bad for them. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's exactly what they wanted. Eventually, if they can get you, then they can get what they want to use, like I said, as a storyline in the media. That's it. Because they feel like you're not going to get coverage no way if you're going through this stuff. The only way that you can get coverage is with violence. This is exactly how they think. Like I said, these are all psychological games put into place, and they're staging all of these provocations, altercations with you. As we know, it's all scripted because they need to try to uplift the protection of the Most High from up on you. And if they cannot corrupt you by getting you to engage in sin, by getting, sending honeypots and Romeos your way, you understand, to get you to sin, you understand, fall, then that way, they can't touch you. But that's the only way that they can get you, is unless you're corrupted. So I only brought that up just to say that. But there is a fine line between corruption and also being provoked. Okay. Because provocation can only go so far. Okay. But it will have to be a very special individual to be provoked. And obviously the Most High will clearly have his hand on that person so that they will not be corrupted or spiral out of control and then give, of course, these demons what they want. So I only brought that up to say that they were possessed. They were possessed. Because what will possess you to go and buy a gun? What would possess you to go and buy all the ammunition? What would possess you to divulge a plan? A premeditation, right? With the intent to kill, right? Like I said, it does not make it right that they're doing this stuff to us. But I'm telling you, you got to tap into that power that the Most High gave you. And like I said, curse these demons back to where they belong. I can't tell you how many times I've walked down the damn street. They can't stand me. I already know, because they mad at the simple fact that they feel like I have too much. Well, my faith is strong. I don't give a damn what the hell y'all think. My faith is strong. You cannot shake it. I'm unshakable, and I cannot be bought. Okay, and I'm not going to play along with what you guys are doing at all. You understand? No matter how much you railroad me, you understand? No matter how much you don't let me work, you don't let me get a job, you guys are drugging me at an alarming rate. You know, you haven't stopped doing that. You understand? They've had many assassination attempts. That hasn't worked. These people are praying. You understand? My family's getting together with cults, covens. You understand? They're fasting and praying against me, praying that I die in my sleep, praying that I get shot up, praying that, I break a leg, praying that my heart stops, praying that I have an aneurysm, praying that I have a stroke, praying that I OD. So it's just, it's a lot. So when I'm going about my day, right, when I do get out, they feel like, oh, I shouldn't have this much grace bestowed upon me. And they also feel like I'm walking around like as if I'm invincible, like I cannot be touched. Like, these are some of the comments that these people have made out loud, not to my face, but they've said it out loud. You understand? And, tweaking. The demons always start tweaking, right? They just cannot sit still. For whatever reason, they have to be noticed. They have to get attention from you, because they already know that we are the salt, we are the flavor, and we gonna forever have flavor in us. Y'all are bland. You understand? You lost your flavor for a reason. That's your fault. That has nothing to do with us. Nothing. So don't get mad at me because I got more flavor, and you gave yours up. So you ain't got no flavor. None whatsoever. And from the looks of it, you ain't getting it back either. So you can play like you got flavor, but you ain't got nothing. Okay? So I only brought that up because I have to make these connections with you, because the same things that you guys are experiencing, I'm experiencing the same things. Similar things. You understand? As we know that these things are very different from every railroaded individual's perspective. Like I said, the only reason why it's tailored to our psyches is because we have been born into these bloodlines. Okay. Once again, I have to go back to the blood. We have been born into these bloodlines. So what comes along with that are familiar spirits. I keep telling you guys that as well. Okay. Family or familia or familia or familial is in the word familiar spirits. Okay. So that are the demons that your ancestors entertained and were inhabited by, that go on to plague your bloodline. So you are a part of that. So this is why they're able and have compiled, so much intel on us. Of course, a lot of it was confirmed by the people that know us, but they already had it because, like I said, once again, we also are being plagued by these familiar spirits. So at some point, we all were entertaining them. You understand? Before we were woken up, you understand, and activated. So this is why they still have all of this intel on us. That's why I knew immediately, when it started. I'm like, how does these people know all this stuff about me? And then I know it wasn't just because of the intel that, my so-called friends and so-called family members have provided them. I knew that this was just stuff that I Like, how do you you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, it was just too personal. It was way too personal, almost too personal. You understand? So that's when I began getting revelations on exactly what it was. And I said, oh, okay, now I see. It was the familiar spirits that I was entertaining. You understand? So that's why they have all the knowledge. And that's the reason why it's designed to your psyche. You understand? That's the reason why they know about your past sins. They know about your vices. They know about your habits. They also know about any of the addictions that you've had, whatever they may be. And they still flaunt that in your face. They're still going to do it. They're never going to stop doing it. It's the same script, same story, same operation. They're never going to change because they feel like they want to accuse you day and night. That's what the fallen does, right? That at some point, you're going to return right back to the old you. And they're hell-bent on trying to prove to the Most High that we belong with them in the lake. I hope this was edifying. I didn't mean to go on for half an hour, okay? Or actually close to an hour. I thought it was half an hour. I just looked at the time. I'm sorry. I did not mean to drag it on. Like I said, some of this stuff was reiteration, but I also wanted to get on here and just make some parallels with how they view us as, especially when they know that we are of the power of the Most High. You understand? So don't for 1 second think that you are cursed. Don't for 1 second think that you cannot engage in spiritual warfare against your enemies. You absolutely can. He told you that in scripture. It's all over scripture. And there's plenty of people that you can look to in the scriptures. There's plenty of stories that you can read that will tell you about spiritual warfare. You understand? He said, suffer not a witch to live. Suffer them not to live. They ain't suffering you to live. I'm not saying go out there and physically kill them. That's not what I'm saying. Like I said, you have to be corrupted to go and do that. Absolutely you would. You understand? But like I said, there's a fine line between being corrupted and there's a fine line between provocation, being provoked. Okay? If somebody's not putting their hands on you directly, you understand? And in some sense, you've heard this, that it's a no-touch sort of operation where they cannot touch you, but that's not true. That's not true entirely. That is not true. There have been instances where these people have tried to touch me, and they have. You understand? I was on the train one time, and this dude literally was making it seem like as if he was trying to fix his luggage, in a compartment that was just so happened to be behind me, and he hit me with his bag, and I knew he did that on purpose. So I got up and I told him, I said, don't you dare do that again. He looked at me like I was crazy and then looked around, because of course they all have handlers and chiefs around. So they have to look around just to see who was looking, because I guess they thought that I was going to get out of character. No, I let it be known. Don't you dare let that happen again. And then I did curse him. Absolutely. I have that authority to do that. I do. And so do you. The hell, these people are cursing you. Curse them back. You understand what I'm saying? Curse them back. Okay? I don't play. Look, they already know that. So they already on ice right now. Because they're like, oh, he's happy now. He's happy today. He's mad. Tomorrow, we don't know. He's unpredictable. We just don't know what when his wrath is gonna come. And they feel like, because we're engaging with them in spiritual warfare, and I'm about to close, that we have the ability to call down plagues. You understand? No matter where you're situated. You understand? No matter where you're situated. Like he said, we're scattered across the four corners of the earth. So do you not know that the Most High has given us spiritual powers? Absolutely we do. I've seen a list, and I'm not going to go into it. I'll say that for another time. But I saw a list where a lot of our names was on it, y'all. And it was online. And you know what it was saying? How dangerous. We were all classified by danger, similar to how the colors are, like green, geniuses, blues, telekinesis, yellows, electrokinesis, oranges, mind control, reds, pyrokinesis, right? So it was similar to that. They they basically had provided everybody who was on that list that I saw. I'm not gonna say no names, but I was on there too. And most of us were considered dangerous. I'm gonna just let you know that. So that should already tell you how loved you are, how important you are to society, even though society rejects you. They wouldn't notice a good thing if they saw it. They wouldn't know a holy one from a motherfucking hole in the wall. You understand what I'm saying? That's the truth. So they can't tell you nothing, and they can't tell me nothing. Peace and blessings to y'all. Shalom.